As no-code developers, we're always on the lookout to create apps that are not only easier to build, but also faster for our users. While I believe Firebase or Supabase makes sense for most apps, there are situations where using a more specialized or lighter database backend might be a better option. Fortunately, the database backends I'm about to share with you are not only optimized to be fast and easy to use, but they're also open source and 100% free. That means trying out these backends will not hurt your wallet, and you can get started immediately. Now, before we get started, remember all the apps and resources that I mentioned on this channel are going to be available to view and/or clone from my Patreon page. And you can learn more about our amazing Patreon community using the link just below the video. Now, the first tool that I want to talk about is AppWrite. AppWrite is a free open source tool. It has over 33,000 stars on GitHub. So you know it's a very, very popular tool that's not going to disappear tomorrow. So let's first take a look at their landing page and learn more about this tool. And then we're going to log in and I'm going to show you how it looks on the inside. So this allows you to build like a team of hundreds. AppWrite's open source platform lets you add auth, DBs, functions, and storage to your product and build any application at any scale, own your data, and use your preferred coding languages and tools. And here we can see trusted by developers from the world's leading organizations, your backend minus the hassle. And here you can kind of learn all about the features, auth, databases, storage, functions, real-time, all the important things that you need for a successful app. And one of the best parts is that you can self-host it or you can take it to the cloud. Okay, so just like with Supabase and many other tools and pretty much all the tools that we're going to be covering today, you can use their cloud offering here from the website, or you can self-host it, which usually is very, very easy to do, in fact. And in one of the tools I'm going to be showing you towards the end of the video, I'm going to be showing you how I self-hosted these tools so that you can see how easy it is, okay? So you get all of these features, you get a ton of other benefits. And with that being said, let's go ahead and log in into my dashboard so that I can show you how it looks. All right, so here we are logged into AppWrite's dashboard. And the first thing that we're looking at is the project screen. Okay, so here you can create a new project. You also have members that you can configure various settings. And in fact, I already created a project here. Okay, so if you click on this project, you will be inside the project's dashboard. And so here you can see the bandwidth, the request, all of the things having to do with this project. But on the left-hand side, you have things like auth, databases, functions, and storage. So you can click on auth, you can configure your users. You can also configure how they're going to be connecting to various apps, whether they're going to be connecting just with username and password, like email and password, or we're going to be using third-party authentication mechanisms. We also have databases, and I created a database here that I'm going to show in just a second. We have cloud functions, edge functions, and we have storage. So right away, just the overall feature set, the overall design, just the overall kind of first impressions is this tool is very similar to Firebase, right? So Firebase has a bunch of things inside that are very, very similar to this, like auth, databases, function, and storage, very similar to Supabase, and it gives you all the things that you really need, right? So if you head into auth, let's say I can create a new user right here. So I can say, well, name user is Tom at tom.com. I can enter phone and I can enter a password right here. And I can say create. That's going to go ahead and create the user. Now I have this user. I can verify the account. I can do all kinds of interesting things there. Next, I can go into databases, and I already have here a database that I created. So I can click here, and inside this database, we have collections. So I have a collection called call1. I can click here and I can create a document. So let's say my document has a name that I configured this collection to have. So I can say, well, this is document 1 or something like this. I can click next and I can click on create. And now I have this document here. Now, inside this collection, I have various attributes, right? So I can define various attributes. Now, this is slightly different than Firestore because with Firestore, it's very, very flexible. So you're not defining attributes on a collection level. You're defining attributes within each document. So you can have one document with these attributes, another document with those attributes. So you can have all kinds of different documents with different attributes. And me personally, I think that's a little too flexible. I definitely do not prefer that design choice that they decided to implement. I really want to define attributes on a collection level, which is kind of what we're doing here. So I can create another attribute here, and let's say we have the name, and let's say we have another one. So let's say this is age, and I can even set up a constraint. So let's say I want age between, I don't know, 25 and 75 or something like this. Default value, we can say this is required, or an array. Okay, click create, and now it's gonna have a constraint, right? So now, if I create a new document here, if I enter an age that's like 15, it's gonna give me an error, right? So let's say James 15, a value must be greater than or equal to 25. Okay, so then I put, let's say 30, and now it's going to accept it. I can also configure permissions as well, and I have document security is disabled. You can enable that. Click create. I also can create indexes, right? Create your first index to get started. You can learn more about it. So you can just click here, create index, create an index, etc., etc. And then you can also click on activity, and you will see all the operations that the users have performed on this table. Now, let's say you've created your databases, you've created your collections, documents. You can easily access this data using the familiar REST API. So if you head over to app write docs, click on REST right here, read this documentation, you will know exactly how to access all your databases, your collections, your documents using the familiar REST API. Now, the way I see AppWrite is that it's very, very similar to Firebase. So if you used Firebase before, you're going to be right at home. But when it comes to the features, they offer a subset of the features that you find in Firebase. Firebase has a ton of other features, and AppWrite gives you just the features that you need to get started very, very quickly. Firebase can be pretty intimidating if you are new to building apps. On the other hand, when it comes to creating documents and creating collections and things like that, you have a very nice approach, I would say. And once you configure your collection, you can create attributes, indexes on a collection level, which is the approach that I prefer over being able to have, all kinds of documents in your collection with different attributes. I want the attributes to be on a collection level. So in this sense, this is similar to a relational database where you create a table and you define the columns and the fields on a table level, not on each individual record level. So this is the approach that I prefer. So definitely check out AppWrite and let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see a more thorough, comprehensive video on this tool. The next tool that I want to talk about is called Baserow, and Baserow is an open source no-code database and Airtable alternative, right? You can create your own online database without technical experience. Our user-friendly no-code tool gives you the power of a developer without leaving your browser. So you can quickly take a look at the screenshot right here, and this should immediately remind you of Airtable. It's very, very similar to Airtable. It looks exactly like Airtable, and it has a lot of the features that Airtable has. And they're also marketing themselves as a no-code platform that grows, flexible software, developer-friendly, open source, self-hosted, headless, and API first. And this means that it's very, very quick and easy to integrate with your apps and get started right away. And here you can decide whether you want to do a hosted or a self-hosted approach. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and log into my account so that I can show you how this tool works in practice. All right, so here I am logged into Baserow, and here we have different workspaces that you can create. So here's my workspace here, James workspace, and for each workspace you can create different apps. Okay, an app is essentially a database, and here I have one app created in this specific workspace. So if we click on it, we're going to be redirected to a page where you can input your data and also change the way that data is displayed. So for instance, here I'm looking at a grid view, and in my database here, I have three fields. So I have name, nodes, and whether this is active or not, like a Boolean field. And so I can add more content. So let's say name is name2, some more nodes about name too, and then I can click here whether this is active or not. Now I can add more fields, and it has support for lots and lots of fields, including the very popular relationship type fields such as link to table. And so I can say, well, this is going to be a date field here, and I can say create. And now I have a date field, and here I can add a date, and I can do the same thing. Let's say it's another date here. And if I don't like that field, I can easily edit that field. I can move it around in the table, insert left, insert right. I can duplicate it, etc., etc. Now, if I click on this grid view here, I can change it to a gallery view. So I can add a gallery, and I can see this data as a gallery. I can drag and drop. I can customize the cards. Of course, I can click here and I can change it to a form. So this data will be inputted as a form. Now, let's say I go back to my grid view here. I can click here. I can import file. I can export view. I can also do webhooks. And when I create webhooks, I can get notified when something happens to my data. So for instance, when a row in base row has been created, updated, or deleted. Now, of course, I also have API access to this data. I can simply go to dashboard, click on API documentation, choose my database here, and I'm looking at documentation for API that has been customized for my table. So you can look at introduction, authentication, you can look at your table here, which is this my table here. I can do list fields, list rows, get row, create row, etc. I can also do file uploads, filters, and last but not least, figure out how to handle various HTTP errors. Now, the way I look at base row is this is your quintessential Airtable alternative. So if you like that Airtable view where you can enter your data, you can create various relationships with different tables, and you can change how you look at your data. So whether this is a table view, a gallery view, a Kanban board, etc., etc., and then you can access your data with an API, then this is going to be the tool for you. And remember, you can use the hosted version like I was doing it now, or you can easily self-host it yourself. The next tool that I want to talk about is Directus. Now, this is a tool that had me curious for a while. I discovered this tool a while back, and I really couldn't wait to review it. Now, this is an open source tool. It has over 23,000 GitHub stars, so it's a very popular tool. And in fact, just like how I said, a lot of these tools that we're reviewing today are very popular in the open source community. They market themselves as the backend to build anything or everything, turn any idea into a scalable app in minutes. Meet Directus, the backend tool and UI loved by developers, teams, and agencies. And so if you scroll down, you can kind of see some of the UI screenshots, some of the things that it can do. If you scroll further, you will see that it's built for technical teams, used and loved by everyone. And here they claim some of the companies that use this tool. So this tool allows you to turn any database into a headless data engine to power any project. Okay, so you can get instant REST and GraphQL APIs for any database. This is actually very popular. You can craft your personalized admin dashboard. You can build unique digital experiences easily. And here's a list of the features that they offer. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and log into my dashboard so that I can show you exactly how this tool works. Now, instead of using their hosted offering, I decided to self-host this tool myself just to experience firsthand how hard or easy it would be to do. And in order to do that, I decided to read their quick start guide, which is designed to get you up and running with a Directus project in a few minutes. Along the way, you'll better be able to understand what Directus is, set up your Directus project locally or in the cloud. And so I was able to easily install this tool right on my laptop by using something called Docker. And so I was able to get this tool running right on my laptop by following these instructions. So the first thing that I did was install Docker, and then I ran this command that automatically downloaded the tool and ran it inside of a Docker container. And the result was that this tool was installed in mere minutes, and I was able to access it immediately. So here's this tool running on my laptop right now. And when you log in, you're going to be seeing a dashboard that looks something like this. So here we have the content, which is going to store your entities, your data, etc., etc. Here we have the users, and this is our admin user that I'm logged in as right now. We also have a file library. We have various insights where you can create a dashboard. We have documentation and settings. Now, the first option is content. And as you can see, I already created a customer collection here. And if you want to change how it's set up, you can click on settings, click on data model. You will see that we have this customers collection here. So if I choose this, you can set it up the way you want. So right now I have two fields, ID and date created. And here I have various setup. I can configure various things about this collection, things like the name, the node, the icon, the color. Here I can create multiple fields. So let's say I want a customer name. I can select, let's say this is an input right here, and I can say, well, the key is name, type is string. I can configure the rest of these things and then click on save right here. And I've just configured the name. I can also rearrange it very, very quickly and easily. Now, once I've configured this, I can go into roles and permissions, and I can create more roles, and each role is going to have different permissions. I have also presets and bookmarks. I have custom translations. I have a webhook. So here I can create a new webhook, which is going to notify me or notify an app when something happens to my data. But a very interesting thing about this tool is something called flows. So if you click on flows, I can create a flow, and here I can decide, well, let's say this is flow 1. It's active. This is an icon. And next I'm going to click here, and I can create a trigger, right? So how will this flow get triggered? So might be an event hook triggered on platform or data events. It could be a webhook. It can be as a schedule, so it can trigger on a set schedule. It can be triggered by another flow, or it could be a manual trigger, which means that I need to trigger it manually. So this is very, very interesting. And that is because I've never seen a tool that allows you to create flows and manage your data all in one place. Maybe there are tools like this out there, but I really haven't seen it firsthand. So let's say I want to do a manual trigger, and let's say I'm looking at collections, right? I wanted to work with collections. And here I can configure various things. Then I can click here. Now I have a trigger, and here I can do other things, right? What do I want to do? Well, I want to create data. I want to delete data. I want to read data. I want to do a condition, right? This is actually very, very cool because you have tools like make.com and 8n where you can create all of these flows, but they work separately from the database, right? You have to configure your database, your data source separately, whereas this tool has it all built in, which is kind of cool. So here I can do, let's say I want to create data, right? So I can say I want to create data in the database. I select the collection, the one that I configured, permissions. It can emit events. I can say, yes, I wanted to emit events. What kind of data do I want to create? Name, key, all of these interesting things. And so this is a very, very interesting feature. And if you guys want me to do a deeper dive with this tool, integrate it with Flutterflow or another no-code builder, let me know in the comments below, because this is a tool I definitely want to explore further. Now, once I'm done with my flow, I can just hit save, and I have this active flow right here. The next tool that I want to talk about is Strapi. Now, Strapi is a very, very popular open source and free tool. It has over 56,000 GitHub stars. So maybe you've heard of it. It's a very, very popular tool, and it's a self-hosted Enterprise Edition that meets your security and compliance requirements. All the features and premium services you need to customize and scale your applications with confidence. And of course, you can do self-hosted or a cloud. So for self-hosted, it's 100% free. And here you can decide whether you want to do self-hosted or a cloud. Now, I actually decided that I wanted to self-host this tool as well. So the next thing that I did was went to their documentation page, went to their quick start guide, and read this guide right here. And they basically tell you to run this command. And as soon as I executed this command, my dashboard was ready. This tool was up and running. And so here I am looking at the dashboard, and on the left-hand side, we have things like the content manager, we have various plugins, and we have some general things that you can configure. So if you go to the content manager, here you can define different content. So things like collection types, single type. So for instance, I have here a customers collection type. And so if I click on content manager, I can see the various collection types followed by single types. So in this case, I have two collection types and I don't have any single type. So if I click on customers, I see all my customers. I can create a new entry. So let's say name is Tom. I can click save, publish, and now it's published and it's available to everybody that needs this data. And here I can click on customers again, and I can see the two customers that I have here. Now, if I click on users, I don't have any users, but likewise, I can click on create new entry and create a new user. Now, the way that you configure these entities is by clicking on the content type builder. So if you click here, you can configure your collection type. So as you can see for customers, I only have name configured. So I can add another field, and here I can decide what kind of field I want to add. Or I can also add custom fields as well by clicking here and using one of their many extensions to be used as a custom field, which is very, very powerful. But let's say I just want like a regular field. I want maybe an email field. Well, I can just select an email field. I have my basic settings, advanced settings, and let's say this is just email right here. Click finish. And now we have name and email. Next, I want to click on save. And after that, I can go to content manager and go to customers and edit. And now I have this email field. So let's say this is james@james.com. Hit save. It is saved, and now that record is saved with a new email. And so this content type builder allows you to create various pieces of content that are going to be used in your specific database and in your specific application. I can also create single type, so I can create a new type. Let's say, type, I can just call it, click continue, and create a bunch of fields for it. Let's say text, hit finish, and I've just created a text field for it. Here in this media library, I can upload some assets, but I think one of the more powerful features of this tool is its plugins and marketplace. So if you click on plugins, you will see all the plugins that I have installed for this project. And obviously I can add more plugins from the marketplace. So if I go to the marketplace, here I can install all plugins, and there are over 150 plugins available for me to install. So I can browse, find the right plugin for my specific use case. And there are a ton of interesting plugins. So like a color picker, Cloudflare, Pages. You can also integrate ChatGPT in your Strapi application, which is very, very interesting. So you don't need to do any of that logic on your front end or in your no-code tool. You just integrate it, and it's going to be like part of the database. This is extremely powerful, and just looking at this plugin screen, I'm immediately thinking of various app ideas that I can easily build and implement without spending time actually coding this specific functionality that these plugins provide. Now, if you go into settings, you're going to be able to configure your API tokens. You have internationalization, media library, transfer tokens, and of course, you can also set up your webhooks, which means you'll get notifications when something happens to your data. Now, this is a very, very popular tool, and a quick overview does not do this tool justice. So if you guys want to see a more comprehensive tutorial on Strapi, let me know in the comments below. The next tool that I want to talk about is called ClickHouse. Now, ClickHouse is a specialized tool because it allows you to get data very, very quickly. It's optimized for speed, and you can see that right on the homepage. Query billions of rows in milliseconds. ClickHouse is the fastest and most resource efficient open source database for real-time apps and analytics. And this is also an open source free tool. It has over 31,000 GitHub stars. So it's a very, very popular tool. And so if you're looking to build an app that needs to be fast, you are looking at performance, you're looking at an app that needs to look at a lot of data and give you results very, very quickly, then this might be the right tool of choice. Now, if you take a look at this query that they're doing, they're getting 13 rows, but they processed 1.07 billion rows, which means 1.3 billion rows per second, or 14.27 gigabytes per second. And so this is a specialized tool that you will be using for specific use cases when you need to look at lots of data and you need to get back results in real time. So things like analytics, maybe you're building a search engine, maybe you're building some kind of a private in-company tool that needs to look at lots of data and give you results immediately. And here you can see it says speed up queries from any data source. ClickHouse supports all the data sources you need to power your apps and use cases that require exceptional performance. And so here you can get your data from MariaDB, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and any other data source, streams, logs, analytics, data lake formats, even local files. So things like CSV file, JSON files, right? Maybe you want to build an app that looks at some of the open source files available, right? You can get all kinds of data online as CSV files, but it's going to be expensive to quickly search that data. Well, no longer. Maybe you can use this tool for that specific purpose. And here they give you technical reasons that explain why ClickHouse is so fast. So you can kind of learn more about it. And here, of course, you can deploy your way. Unlike traditional closed source all app databases, ClickHouse runs on every environment, whether it's on your machine or in the cloud. And so you can host it locally, right? You can run fast queries on local files, CSV, TSV, and more without a server. You can open source host it. You can spin up a database server with open source ClickHouse, always free. Or you can use their cloud offering. You can deploy a fully managed ClickHouse service on AWS or GCP. So the choice is really up to you. So now let's go ahead and log into my account so that I can show you the tools, dashboard, and functionality. So here we are logged into ClickHouse. So here in the first services tab, if you click on metrics, you will see an overall dashboard of what's happening with this specific project. Next, you can click on backups and followed by connection. And here you can add data, you can connect your SQL client, and you can also get a connection string to get the details you need to connect to your service. And so regardless of how you're going to be analyzing your data, you can do it a multitude of different ways. Here in the actions menu, I can add data, visualize data, I can stop this service, delete the service, or I can click on connect, open SQL console, and also view a connection string so that I can connect to my service here using a different client. Now, if you click on API keys, you can manage your ClickHouse cloud service using APIs, includes services, users, network access, and scaling information. So if you do not want to manage it using this UI right here, you can easily manage the whole thing using an API. And if you click on integrations, you can learn about all the ways that you can integrate different providers and different services with your ClickHouse instance. Now, just like with the other tools, this is a quick overview. So if you guys want to see a more comprehensive tutorial with some use cases and some different things that you can do with this tool, let me know in the comments below. Last but not least, we're going to be looking at SurrealDB, and this is the ultimate multi-model database, and this tool is also free and open source, and at the time of making this video, it has close to 23,000 GitHub stars. So this tool allows you to develop easier, build faster, and scale quicker. And you can click on view all features to learn about this tool. So you can learn about the architecture, the platform as well. So there's multi-tenancy, data separation, multi-table, multi-row transactions, schema-full or schemaless version temporal tables. That's a future feature. So this feature right here might be of interest to many of you because this allows you to split data into namespaces and databases. There's no limit to the number of databases under each namespace, with the ability to switch between databases inside queries and transactions. Now, if you click on data model, you can store your data in many different ways. So basic types, empty values, arrays, objects, durations. So things like geometries, futures, and casting. If you click here, you can learn about the specific language that the tool expects in order to put data and get data out of this tool. You also have functions, all kinds of different functions that you can use with your data, permissions. Of course, you have your REST API. You can also access data over WebSockets. And just like with the previous tools, I was also able to self-host this tool on my laptop right now. So as you can see, I have this tool running right on my laptop. And I also downloaded their desktop app to interact with my database. Now, as of the time of making this video, the only way that you can really query your data or create new data is with SQL statements. And so if you copy this SQL statement here and paste it here, and you want to create a new account, so let's say I have Acme Inc. and I want to create Acme 2 Inc. and I execute it, it responds with this account. And then I can query all the accounts that I have, account here, and I can see that I have 2 accounts created. I can also create another record. So let's say I want to create a new record for authors. I can just simply paste it here, replace this with James, NoCode, and I get a response that it was created successfully. And then what I can do is I can just look at all my records, author here, and I can see that I have 2 authors here. Now, arguably, this tool is not yet as polished and easy to use as some of the tools that we talked about previously with the fancy dashboards and things like that. They do promise an app that's going to be out soon. This is the SurrealDB application. And I say the SurrealDB management application is coming soon. So this is how it's going to look like. And so I definitely believe that when it does come out, it's going to increase the adoption of this tool significantly, because you'll be able to interact with this tool using this easy to use UI. And so it'll definitely make things simpler for people who are interested in test driving this tool and possibly using it with their apps. But for the time being, you can easily self-host the tool on your machine and kind of play around with it and see the features that it offers. Now, if any of the tools in this video piqued your interest, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make a more comprehensive video where I talk about some of the interesting features of the tool, as well as actually build a proof of concept app that this tool will integrate with for a much more comprehensive app solution. Now, if you watch this video and you're thinking to yourself, I really like this tool, or I really like that tool, or I believe that this tool is going to be perfect for the app that I'm building right now, or an app that I'm thinking about building in the future. Well, in that case, you definitely need to check out our amazing Patreon community, because when you join our amazing Patreon community, you're going to get access to all the no-code apps that I built on this channel. So regardless what kind of app that you're looking to build, whether it's with one of these tools or not, chances are I built an app that does what you're trying to do before. So instead of reinventing the wheel, you can easily view and or clone one of the apps that I built before and implement the app's functionality in your future app that you are building right now or thinking about building in the future. You're also going to get access to extra content such as Q&As, live streams, behind the scenes content, and our Patreon supported masterclass series, where I do a deep dive on certain topics that the community votes on. And in fact, very soon, I'm going to be doing a Patreon only masterclass on a topic that a lot of you will find very valuable. And that specific tutorial is only going to be available for our Patreon supporters. And beyond all that, when you join our amazing Patreon community, you're going to be supporting this channel and supporting my work. And that is highly appreciated. And so if any of that sounds like it might be of value to you, then I definitely urge you to check out our incredible Patreon community and consider becoming a subscriber. I look forward to seeing you inside.